Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the latest edition of the World Report. I'm Scott Crowfoot. On today's show, Iranian warships enter the Atlantic for the first time in history. The president's sagging poll numbers and horrible rollout of Obamacare has Senate Democrats running away. China's growth slows to 7.7%, a problem most countries would love to have. Our history segment explores the effect of third-party candidates in presidential elections. And now to our top stories. Is fracking causing earthquakes? Several residents in Texas say it is. Wall Street advisor David John Marotta calculates the nation's true unemployment number is over 37%. Meanwhile, new reports show that 26% of 20 to 34-year-olds living in the UK are living with their parents. Maury, fracking, is it causing earthquakes?
No. They will make any excuses. The greenies they would rather see this country go down the tubes than become oil independent. They have, what worries me the most is that John Podesta, he has made what I call climatological purity his #1 objective. They don't care about our economy. They don't care about unemployment. So they are finding excuses now to stop the one element in our economy that's booming, and that is energy development. And that is being generated by fracking, which means it's a technology that's been with us for many years, but it's now much more sophisticated, and there are shales all over the country that they can get into. And do you know what percentage so far we have utilized of all the shales available in this country?
Less than 5%.
No, it's about 9%. The biggest one of all is here in the state of California, the Monterey Shale, which goes from up San Jose, up St. Louis Obispo, up in that area there, all the way to down to Santa Barbara in that area. So it covers most of the state. It's huge. And the University of Southern California did a study and found that if we can start utilizing that gigantic shale, they call it the Monterey Shale, they're talking about an additional $75 billion to $100 billion in the next 4 or 5 years that would be available here in this state of California, and about 150,000 additional employees.
Okay, so what do you say to the people who, and there are earthquakes that have been registered, 30 of them in a short period of time within a small town in Texas where they are doing fracking. How do you prove that that is not causing earthquakes?
Well, the only way you can prove that is, I think it's the other way around. You got to prove that it is causing earthquakes, because it's like saying coal mining is causing earthquakes, or digging into the ground, what we call tertiary drilling, where you go very deep, where they used to exploit oil that was underground. Not fracking is getting into the shale. This was just finding spots in Texas, Oklahoma, mostly in the Southwest, where they would go generate oil. That didn't cause any earthquakes. When somebody makes a charge that fracking is causing earthquakes, I think it's up to them to show proof how it is. I think what they're proving is something that they don't want to see any more oil production in this country. I think that's their objective.
And what about the groundwater that is reports are that it's being contaminated by the fracking, because you're taking chemicals and putting it into the shale to release the gas. What do you say about that?
Well, I mean, that's getting technical, and I'm not an expert on the technical utilization of chemicals in order to. If you're telling me that there are many people that are getting sick or dying from it, I'd say there's some very serious problems. But there haven't been any real problems of that particular type. That's just conversation, and that conversation is coming from people that want to stop America's energy development for the sake of renewables.
Obviously, there's football games where the stadium gets loud enough, as like in Seattle, to register an earthquake, a small earthquake on the seismometer, whatever they call it.
Absolutely, that's exactly right. I say when you can. I can say the fact that you have a very nice light brown coat It's hurting my eyes, and I think, would you please not wear it the next time? Because if you wear a black coat, I'd feel a little more comfortable. These are in a time when unemployment is the biggest economic problem we have in this country. When when the federal government, through the Environmental Protection Agency and their associate clubs like the Sierra Club, and the worst of all is the California Air Resources Board. They have only one thing in mind: stopping production. Coal, of course, they want to bankrupt, and they're on their way to doing that. And the only way they can do that is close the coal mines. So they're probably going to start saying coal mining is causing earthquakes. We have to close all the coal mines. And I wouldn't put it past our president, with a guy like John Podesta, to do that, because they don't care about our economy. That's the big thing. They don't really care. They feel that if we get too economically viable in this country, then maybe they lose the control that they have.
Switching gears a little bit, a Wall Street advisor, David John Marotta, recently sent out a report to his investors and to his people. And he said that he's done some calculations, and the real unemployment number is over 37%. Do you agree with that number?
No, I totally disagree with that. You see, the trouble with all these statistics now, and as you know, I write every day on it, I find myself much more knowledgeable today about all these economic statistics than I ever did before. And I realize why people don't like economics. You know, it's called the dismal science, because it's so confusing. It was to me at one time too. Now, because I'm writing on it every day, I'm communicating on it, I understand it better. It's a question of, you can say, well, the American people, the average American, the average person likes to have simple answers. And the simple answer is, well, what's unemployment? Well, it's supposed to be about 6.7%. Of what? Did you ever know? 6.7% of large corporations who put out numbers of how many people they have employed. The number that I use is the labor force. No, U6 is probably the best to go up.
Just explain that a little bit to our viewers, because they may not know what you mean by U6.
Well, U6 is...
There's 6 different categories.
Yeah, but just to try to simplify it, there are roughly about 150 million potential workers of all types. Okay, U6 indicates that we have the smallest percentage of people working today than we've had in decades. So that the U6 number of saying all the people that could possibly work if they had a job is roughly 13%, which it has been for the last couple of years. But these percentages are meaningless. I say labor force participation means people that actually want to work, want to get jobs, not people that want to get government payments, Medicaid development, food stamps. People that really want to get jobs and can find jobs and have just given up looking for jobs, they are the ones that are focused on when we talk about labor force participation. The U6, you know, we can talk about it, and people aren't interested in this. All they know is we have a major unemployment problem in this country. Part of it is caused by structural unemployment, which means there's a lot of jobs that aren't available anymore that were available and that were having nothing to do with regulation or government direction or anything. You know, the best example I can give you, I became president of a company that was doing $5 million back in 1963. We had 410 people working. One day I figured out how many people I would need to do the same amount of business based on the product I was making then, less than 100. So the point, and these hands-on jobs, you know, automotive, construction, all these, at one time, you know, we did textiles. There were many, many things that we did that no longer need the kind of work that's going on now. You know, we're just at the cutting edge of robotics at this point.
Interesting you bring that up, because the U.S. Army just released a story recently where they're going to replace thousands of troops with robots.
Oh, it's going to happen.
So if you want to talk about a faceless, painless war, you could wage wars till the end of time with robots.
Well, what about drones? They're robots. You know, where you fly over and you bomb whoever you feel like bombing. We're going through an era right now, some people call it cyber science, where we're going from, it's a huge leap forward that most people don't even understand today.
Well, you mentioned drones. At the CES in Las Vegas, the big electronics show,
yes,
Amazon's CEO was talking about drones actually delivering your packages. You order a package from Amazon, drone delivers it to your house, flies back and picks something else up.
You mentioned a man, Jeff Bezos, who is probably the most creative genius in this country today. What he's doing, he's killing the retail business. I mean, he is. Do you know that he's coming up with an idea of pre-packaging now, waiting for the orders to come in, where you can scientifically figure out what people are going to order, and you have it ready to go, ready packed, so that you can send it overnight. I mean,
and then the drone brings it to your house. We only have 1 minute left. 26% of the United Kingdom's 20 to 34-year-olds are living at home with their parents. This is not a good sign. And I think it's coming here.
It's the stagnation of Western civilization. That's what I call it. Shrinking. People aren't having children anymore. There are fewer people having to support a lot of retired people. I mean, this is happening. I call it the Europeanization of America is now where it's happening, where it used to be where it 4 or 5 people working to one retired, needing Social Security, whatever. You know, we're down to around 2 to 3.
Yeah, so at some point you've got so many people in the cart that there's not enough people to pull the cart. And we're fast getting to that point.
Yeah, that's another problem that you don't hear much about, but it's happening.
Now, the healthcare law allows kids to stay on their parents' plan until 26.
Right.
Why even go out and worry about getting a job with benefits? I mean, that was the big thing coming out of college. Get a job with benefits. Benefits was even more important than pay in some instances.
You see, we're now talking about a huge cultural change in this country. There used to be a certain social stigma attached to somebody that wasn't working. Now, with food stamps and Medicaid development and all the things that are happening with Obamacare, well, if that ever gets off the ground, it's making it no longer, there is no
incentive?
Well, it's not a... It used to be that the thing that made America unique is
pride,
the entrepreneurial drive, the pride, the idea that I'm out there doing something creative. I don't want to be seen as somebody that's just sitting there getting something for nothing.
It's very difficult when you receive more in a government benefit than you do from actually working. It's hard to actually be incentivized to go out and do something.
Interesting you bring that up, because I was talking to somebody who knows this business very well, and he said anybody that's really sharp can get up to $25,000 tax-free by putting together all the things that are available if he wants to take the time and make the effort to do so.
So it's actually harder to go out and work than it is to sit home.
Yeah, but it depends on human behavior. If the country, if you want respect, people want, and I think at one time the vast majority of people coming out of colleges, coming out of trade schools, or just wanting to get a job, but just to do something, overwhelmingly, there was social stigma involved in not working. Now, if you're clever enough to get around not working, it's okay.
And you mentioned a big one, trade schools. We've completely lost
They're gone.
The trade schools. We need to step aside for a brief moment. We will return with more economic news, our global outlook, political insider, and the history segments are all straight ahead. If you'd like to watch the show or catch any one of our segments, just log on to our website, theworldreport.org. Remember to like us, recommend us, and leave comments. We'll be right back.